We've got a bene dosa from Bangalore,
Yeah.
which is this new wave of, I would say it's a very old dosa, but it's just becoming very popular in India.
Okay.
And again, to show people that a dosa is not just a dosa, there's much more to it. So we've reached this stage in our lives where, you know, in our lives as hoppers, where we were showing you what a dosa is. Today, we're going to nuance this, and we're showing you that, look, there's a dosa from India, there's a dosa from Sri Lanka, there's a dosa from Bangalore that's different from Tamil Nadu. So our normal crispy dosas are more the Tamil style. The Sri Lankan style is completely different. And then you've got this bene dosa, which is different. But again, we wanted to make it a little cooler, make it a little different.
Yeah.
And we've got this lovely pulled lamb and pickles inside. You've tried that.
Yeah. It's so good.
So that was a really fun visual
Yeah.
dish. Again, I've done versions of that at festivals, so it was an easy sort of idea that came by.
Karan, it is such a joy to be here with you in Hoppers, Shoreditch. We were just chatting and it's been 10 years, 11 years since we first met. It's been a very, very long time. I can't wait to get into it with you. But for people that don't know, you didn't always start in hospitality, did you?
No.
So can you take us right back to the beginning and share with us a moment where you made that decision to come out of the career that you were in and make a move into hospitality, and how you followed that passion?
Yeah, I think when I look back, I think it was very clear. I'd cook for friends all the time.
Yeah.
I think cooking was my unwind, it was my meditation. I'm very, very active. You know me very well, and I'm sort of always jumping around doing different things. But cooking is the one thing that really grounds me. It gives me sort of meditation in the kitchen. It forces me to stop and use all my senses, and I love it. And I think looking back, it was always there. The signs were always there. You know, like anyone who cooks a lot, friends will always say, oh, you know, you should consider opening a restaurant. But weirdly, I took that to heart, and I always had that somewhere inside. It's just like any good Indian kid, I followed that sort of professional career.
Yeah.
Did 2-3 degrees in law,
Okay.
hoping that one day down the line I'd love it.
Yeah.
And I'm also, you know, again, as you know, a very passionate person. If I'm not completely obsessed by something, I won't do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I kept trying to enjoy law, and I kept sort of ticking the boxes, doing really well, got a great training contract not far from here in the city. You were probably cooking on the other side that time.
I know.
Not the same firm,
yeah,
but I'm
yeah.
sure we crossed paths.
I think so.
But, you know, did that. And then I think, like I say, with a lot of Indian kids, we aren't looking down at our toes, but we aren't looking forward either. We're looking at this weird 45-degree angle. It's like you're seeing a future and you're working towards it. But when you get there, you haven't really looked up to say, okay, where am I going in the big picture? And I think that was the moment for me, was school, let's just do as well as we can and get a good university.
Yeah.
University, let's do as well as we can and get a good job. In my case, get a second university. So I came over to Cambridge from India.
Okay.
Halfway through my first degree because I wanted to upgrade. And then at the end of Cambridge, it was like, okay, where do I get the best training contract? When I got the training contract, where do I get what's the most difficult area and the most challenging, intellectually challenging department to qualify into? And ticked all those boxes. It was only when I was there, I was like, okay, fine, now there's no real goalpost.
Sure.
Now this is life. That's when I said, hell, I can't do this all the time. I'm just not cut out for it. I'm very envious of people who were cut out for it, because it's a very stable job. It's intellectually challenging. It's a really good, environment compared to many other environments in the city. And some great people around you. But it was just not for me. And I didn't have that drive to wake up every day and do something I wanted. And I think that's when I said, okay, what is it that I've always wanted to do? At that point, it seemed like I wanted to cook professionally or wanted to open a restaurant. Today, when I look back, it's very clear. It's that one profession, and one profession only, that brings together food and people. And that's our profession. And I think I love people more than I love food.
Yeah.
And sort of feeding people, working with people, inspiring people, growing people.
Yeah.
And I think this space that I've created has allowed me to do a lot of that.
Is this, because I talk about this, and obviously, Indian culture is very generous and very, it's about giving and nurturing and hosting. And this is kind of, abundance and hospitality always begins at home. Do you think it's always just been in you?
It's definitely in our culture. But then there's also 1.6 billion of us. Not everyone turns into a restaurateur. So I think there is definitely, there's a nurture thing, but there's also a nature thing. You're either born to be hospitable or not. You can't be trained. When we interview people, it's what Danny says. It's, when you interview people, you have people who will see everything and really good at the tick box exercise, but certain things just don't come from the heart.
No, sure.
And I think it can be very empowering. If you're that kind of person, you start working with people like that, it can be a very empowering thing as well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think let's come back to this incredible space, because it has been just over 10 years of incredible growth for the business, and you have done so much. But Hoppers Shoreditch is a bit different to the other Hoppers, isn't it? And can you just talk me through why and how you chose to make that a little bit different?
Sure. I think Hoppers Soho opened 10 years ago in 2015. And again, we had no idea at that point what we were doing. We wanted to open a restaurant. We went with our hearts and we said, let's create a space, let's create a menu, and let's create an offering that we kind of miss in London. So it came from the heart. It came from sort of a need that we had more than anyone else had. And obviously we'd studied the market as well. And it did really well. And weirdly, sort of, a little while after that, I was perceived as a Sri Lankan chef. And I joke, both of which are untrue. I'm actually not a classically trained chef and I'm not Sri Lankan. But I was very proud to fly this flag for a country that I'm not from, but love dearly. Probably have more friends in than I have anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
And, over the years, they have supported me more than, when I say they, as in sort of my Sri Lankan friends, diaspora generally has supported me more than anyone else has. And I've tried to do all I can, whether it's building schools there, really spreading the culture, writing a cookbook on it. But down the line, I kind of said, okay, I want to do more Indian as well. And, every time we opened a restaurant, it was all about, do we have something new to tell? It's not just about commercially, we'll have more people, we studied the market, this is a good area, we put a pin in this thing. We never intended to be a QSR, or not even a QSR, but even like a chain brand. And I hate the word chain because for me, each one is like a sibling.
Yeah.
Each one is like, my kids, well, you can sometimes confuse the two of them, but they're completely different beasts.
Yeah.
They have the same DNA, and I think that's what I want the restaurants to be. Each one reacts to its neighborhood.
Yeah.
Each one represents a different stage in our lives. Marylebone was, wow, what have we done at Soho? This is incredible. Now, what were we missing? We're missing larger tables. We'd have groups that came in and had nowhere to sit.
Yeah.
We couldn't seat anyone larger than a 5, 6 at times. And therefore, we made those lovely booths at the bottom.
Yeah.
We found that site that lent itself to this, 3 areas of dining. So we really challenged ourselves and went there. King's Cross, which was then in 2020, was about this evolution of, okay, I really want to show off our bar. And we have this beautiful big space, which we never had I'm very nervous about doing the whole thing. But then eventually, after showing how Marylebone did well, we grew into that space, created a lovely bar there, really pushed our bar program.
Yeah.
Had beers on tap for our own beer on tap for the first time. Had some incredible cocktails. And then it took 5 years. I wrote 2 cookbooks in the middle, lots of introspection, really upgraded our entire team, got an incredible culture in. And I think that's where we kind of really found ourselves. I found myself in the last 5 years a lot. We understood what the purpose was. And I think in that, Ranjit's opened the restaurant with me 10 years ago. He's been with me in the kitchen before we opened. And I think both of us had so much more of a story to tell. We'd been traveling around South India. He wanted to do more. And we said, look, we were always Sri Lankan South Indian. The press took the whole Sri Lankan aspect of our branding and what we were about.
Yeah.
And they blew that up, but no one talked about the South Indian. Our menu's always been 50-60% South Indian. So mainly Kerala, a little bit of Tamil Nadu. This time we said, let's go on the nose and we really do what we did for Sri Lanka 10 years ago, we'll do for South India this time. So obviously our classics stay, and Hoppers is Hoppers. We're a well-known brand. Sri Lanka is a huge part of what we do. Like I said, our charity is 100% in support of Sri Lanka. We've got schools there. We've got a big community there. And I will never take that for granted. It's not a shift away.
No.
But it's a wider palette.
Yeah. of course.
And that's when we said, okay, 5 different regions of South India. Let's go specifically, let's do a deep dive. Let's go back and revisit them with a fresh sort of fresh mind and say, okay, this is what we want to bring back.
Yeah.
And that's when we came back and created this. It's this tiny space, because we've gone from 40 seats at Soho to
But they're 40 seats and stuff.
just 40 seats, including the bar and windows.
This explains the wait, the queue, no? In the early days.
To like 80 seats in Malibon. 190 at King's Cross with all the terraces active.
Yeah.
Back to 55. So in a way, it's this full circle.
Nice.
And we've come back to this and we're testing something new out. But it's when you look around, it should feel like Hopper's, just a grown-up version, a bit
It really
grayer
does.
like me.
That makes both of us, I think. But I do, and I know we're not supposed to have favourites amongst children, but I think this might be my favourite. So there's something quite special about this next iteration. So I want to come back to the books, because you have authored 2 books, the first of which is the Hopper's Cookbook, gorgeous book. And there's a really nice documentary feel to the way that you the book follows suit. It's your travels, and, many of us think of you not just as a restaurateur, but as a cultural storyteller. And this is also seen in Indian 101. So I want to ask you what kind of, not necessarily responsibility, but you are proactively teaching people about the length and breadth of South Asian cookery. And I think that's super exciting. So how important is it to you to show the length and breadth and the diversity of South Asian cookery?
Look, I've never overthought this. For me, culture, food, people go hand in hand. When I travel, I'll almost avoid going to museums, and I'll avoid going to all the historical landmarks, because that kind of stuff just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah.
Unless I suddenly find this routine via food and then get obsessed with it.
Yeah.
But apart from that, for me, it's about people. Mm-hmm. It's about the culture is people, how they drink, how they eat, how they dress, how they walk. And even if you don't speak a language, we've traveled together and we've been to Italy. And for me, the most memorable moments were not going and seeing a castle or going and seeing a museum, which we actually did none of.
Yeah, no, we didn't.
It was eating gelato at the local gelato shop.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Going and finding
parmesan.
making parmesan, finding that little hole in the wall where the grandmas were rolling ravioli.
Yeah.
And even if you don't speak the language, I think there is this thing about you go back respecting a culture more.
Yeah.
And you go back having understood a culture more and having fallen in love with it.
Yeah.
And I think for me, as someone who's grown up in India, then over time come to represent a region that's similar but still extremely different to where I grew up, Sri Lanka. It just became this sort of, I never thought of it too much as a burden in terms of responsibility, but something I'm extremely proud of. Yeah. I still have what I call these anchoring moments where I remember specific days in my life. And I remember these days in a very dark period of my life when I was trying to make that shift between a very lucrative, successful career in law to the complete unknown of hospitality. And I just take myself back to that moment where, for me, that day, even having a small 40-seat restaurant would have been the most ultimate dream could have never imagined. And today, to then, sometimes you get offered certain opportunities. You're like, okay, go and do a talk here somewhere, do this demo. We say yes to so many things. And then it comes to the day, it's like, I'm going to leave my kids. I have to drive halfway across the country to go and do a demo and come back tonight. Yeah. Is it really worth it? And then I quickly anchor back to that moment where it's like, that version of myself would have given an arm and a leg. This would have been the highlight of my year. And I'm lucky enough to have multiple of these now. We should never take that for granted. So coming back to your question, I think it's this incredible platform to be inspiring people. And like I said, I tell my team today, I think the ultimate goal is not just to get people into the restaurant, but we have won when someone leaves our restaurant and starts researching online on how they can book a trip to India or Sri Lanka. That is when we have really succeeded in what we want to do. So it's become much more than just food. Yeah. Or giving you a little sort of escapism in the middle of Shoreditch or
gateway,
or Soho.
isn't it? Yeah.
But it's this little sort of, you're teasing an interest. And I'm not going to go, we're not doing any great cultural teaching beyond that, but it's about teasing them to understand or to dig deeper, dive deeper. Then they could probably find a little more in my cookbooks or a little more on my online stuff. But that's just the gateway, as you say. Yeah. And I think that's what we provide. And we've got this incredible platform. That gate has gone from being that small to being that big. And I think we're just really grateful to have that. And that's what we do. So I think for me, that's become authenticity. It's not about, am I cooking the dish that someone's grandmom or my grandmom is doing? Back in the day, it was that. It was go research the best black pork curry, come back and try to make exactly the same thing. Today, it's become more the intention of what am I trying to do?
Okay.
Have I put enough effort in to create something that is truly intentional and meaningful? Mm-hmm. So all my new dishes here, you'll probably never find in that form back in South India.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's a bene dosa or it's a nool paratha from Madurai, we have combined it with other things because now it's become very personal. It's become a day in our lives as hoppers, in my life as Karan, in Ranjit's life as Ranjit, where we were traveling. We had such a great time, and we want to give you a taste of that in the hope one day you want to actually go and experience it yourself.
Yeah.
So we bring those little things together, get them onto a plate, give it the hopper's sort of wrapper, which is something that, you know, we've taken a long time to understand and develop.
Yeah.
And then present that on a plate. So it all makes sense within the brand, but at the same time, there is a lot of intention gone into that.
Sure.
And for me, that is authenticity.
Yeah. I love this. God, I love talking to you about food. It's just the best. And I think, I mean, one of the reasons why we naturally connected, I think, is because we both obsess over food in every aspect. So we're not cooking, we're talking about it, eating, experimenting. But can you share with me two experiences that you've had from your travels and your upbringing that really have, you know, that continue to shape the decisions that you make for hoppers now?
Look, I think, again, I'm fortunately in a place where I'm constantly trying to provide this gateway, provide a little piece of my travels. And, you know, I love this cultural storyteller bit. No one's ever given me that title, but I'm very happy to take it. I'll change my email signature today to cultural storyteller. I love it. I think it's far more exciting than creative director or founder, any of that stuff. But I think that's effectively what we're doing, right? Like, I think it summarizes purpose. Where, why am I doing what I do in my cookbooks? Why am I doing what I do in my online persona? And why am I doing what I do in my restaurants? This kind of brings it together. At the end of the day, you're telling a story. And the story is deeply rooted in a culture via its food, via its stories, via its aesthetics. And I think, fortunately, I can really go all out in that because it's such a transportative experience. You know, what we're doing at Hoppers is taking you away to this little land that is inspired by, but kind of created in my head with some really good designers. And but when I look back, and sort of people have often asked me this question. Now I'm Gujarati, which is technically sort of West India. Yeah. Grew up in Mumbai, which is also technically West, more towards the South, but West India. And I represent South Indian food on our menu via very, very talented people in the kitchen, and Sri Lankan food via deep research and travel. And I think the question is, you know, why do I do it? And often people have asked me this. And I think for me, there was a moment. We had a granduncle, and I've spoken about him many times, I've written about him many times, who was very close to us. He's a bachelor for life. He taught me two things. He taught me that A, men can cook and have a great place in the kitchen. Because you'd obviously see professional chefs as men, but in India, growing up in the sort of 80s and 90s, it was the women who were in the kitchen, or you had a cook who was a man. Yeah. Very often. Okay. But the men of the house were not allowed in the kitchen. Not allowed, but sort of kind of dissuaded from being in the kitchen. Okay. I always snuck in. From the age of 5, I think that was my happy place. I'd do like my experiments in there and all that stuff. But Tatun, this man, like a grandfather to me, he just come home with a bag of ingredients, cook the most joyous meals, South Indian flavors. So, you know, I still, for me, there's that sensory sort of connection to him when I smell certain flavors, like, you know, whether it's curry leaves, urad dal being toasted, that nutty smell, or coconut, and some of the tadkas he'd cook with random vegetables from South India. But when I look back, I can't remember more than 5 dishes he made for us. He made an incredible rasam, he made different sambars, he made a few stir fries, all vegetarian. Yeah. But what I do remember is those were the only times when he'd bring our whole family together. So my mum, my grandmum, my brother, my dad, and even the cook. Often there was always there was a little bit of sparring between my mom and grandmom and the cook, and all three of them. So there was this hate triangle, as I like to joke. Not real hate, but it's sort of typical sort of Indian joint family hate. But he was the only one who could diffuse that and really bring laughter to the table, make everyone laugh at each other.
Yeah.
And I think when I look back, it was that sticks more than what was on the plate. Which then makes you realize that what we are doing at restaurants, we can get quite sort of, up our own asses. And we're like, oh my God, food is everything. You're coming to eat. I call them the CV restaurants, where you're eating the chef's CV when the waiters to come and explain, a chef had spent 6 months in France researching this and then traveled to Mexico and then went to Scandinavia somewhere and came back with some leaf and he's pickled it and served it to you. It's like, yes, that could be fun in a context, but I don't enjoy that.
Yeah.
For me, the food and the ambience, ironically enough, are only the frame. What lies within is the experience that you create. If two of us were to go out for food, for a meal, great service will only make the conversation easier and more fun.
Sure.
Good lighting and music will only make it more fun.
100%.
Good food will give us more to talk about, bring a smile to our faces. And yes, we might be talking about the food for a lot of it, but actually what we're doing is connecting.
Yeah.
And years later, you might remember 1 or 2 dishes if they really stood out.
Yeah.
But you will remember the moment, you'll remember the emotion. And this is what I learned from him.
Yeah.
And I think that's something we have tried really hard. That obviously we are food-centric and food-focused.
Yes.
But to very clearly put in context that food is only the frame. Everything we do is only the frame, and we're here to creating amazing pictures, but it's the people who come in that paint those pictures themselves, and you can only influence it. You can't paint it for them.
Yeah.
And I think this was my biggest lesson. And obviously, like I said, apart from that, it's sort of, I'm very lucky to be able to travel, to share that travel online and have people follow it with me, share it with friends, and then eventually come back and be able to present it in some form or the other.
Yeah.
But again, as a cook and a creative person, even going to Italy sometimes can give you certain ideas. What made you feel good in a restaurant? It's not necessarily the pasta on your plate or the pizza.
Yeah.
But it might be they did something right that we can bring back and incorporate into our spaces.
Definitely.
So yeah. So yeah.
So I want just, you touched on the charitable work that you partake in, but obviously over the last 10 years, you've been involved in numerous charities in Sri Lanka and for the kind of development and growth of projects. Can you share with us a bit more about how important that's been to you as part of this journey for the business, and what's happened during that time, really?
So taking a step back to when we started, I think charity has always been something that I was brought up. You don't look at charity as charity, because if you do it right and you do it at the right time in your life, it makes you feel more fulfilled than anything else will. If it's just a tick box and you actually call it, that's why we hardly even call it charity. It's a project which we're helping others. So as a kid, I think we'd always do random charities with dad, with mom, we were always brought up thinking about other people.
Yeah.
And then I think I realized it was only sort of down the line when I was at university that I kind of took some time off and I worked with a blind school. Okay. And I think that was, not time off, but when I found this sort of calling, I started working with a blind school, and one afternoon a week became 3 days a week, swimming with them, reading newspapers to them, going and hanging out with them. And it was the most fulfilling thing I'd ever done. And I think ever since I came here, there were moments when I'd volunteer, and often it was volunteering with time, because I think that is the best form of any charity you do, as opposed to just digging into your pocket or digging into someone else's pocket.
Yeah.
And then we kind of found this thing many years ago where every restaurant, and a lot of restaurants still do it, but like, we'll add £1 to the bill, we'll round up, we'll do whatever it is. And that's great, because again, restaurants, brands have a platform and they're able to support via that platform. But the question still remained as to what are you doing as a brand, apart from just becoming this mouthpiece and getting other people to funnel through their donations. We supported a few people via various initiatives, including this £1 of the bill along the way, some of them. And I was very adamant from the beginning that I wanted to support someone back in the region, particularly Sri Lanka, because I felt this debt of gratitude. And I also felt that the pound could go much further in those countries.
Yeah.
But sadly, there was, accountability proved to be an issue. We'd have provided money to these people, didn't really see what was happening. And then it was only in 2021 when we had sort of gone off and we'd gone on this incredible holiday to Sri Lanka. actually it was 22. Went on this incredible holiday to Sri Lanka, beginning of the year. Stayed at a friend's villa, came back, and then there was this whole sort of civil war broke out. Literally weeks after we came back. And suddenly I had this thought sitting at Hoppers King's Cross. It's like all the people who supported us, our rickshaw drivers, people we interacted with, suddenly might be looking at just fallen off a cliff edge and they just lost their daily livelihood. And that really rocked me. More than this whole thing of, you're profiting off, you'd have people message you, you're profiting off our culture. I've never thought about it that way. It's like all we're doing is just cooking food and we're inspiring people to go to Sri Lanka. There's no profiting off anyone's culture. I don't think anyone does that. But I said, I really want to be able to support those people. And then connected with a couple of friends there who then introduced me to this man who has this incredible CSR arm. He's done phenomenally well in the FMCG space. He's started the CSR arm. He's got 3 charities. And I was very clear I wanted to do something with food and kids, both things very close to my heart. And he had just the right things. He had this preschool network that was partnering with the government and giving preschool kids a great education, building schools and things like that. Partnered with him and we went for it. He literally came the next, he happened to be in London, so it was all in the stars. Came and met me on the back of a napkin, little yellow napkin, scribbled some numbers. We said, look, conservatively, we could raise X amount every month.
Yeah.
This is what I'm going to promise. And I don't want to overpromise, underdeliver. So this is, I commit to this amount. He said, based on this, we can support X number of schools. That was very clear. We need to support every single person in that school, from teacher down to every kid. There's no choosing.
Yeah.
It's not need-based because we don't know what the needs are, so we're not judging.
Yeah.
And I think in our first year, we kind of raised more than 30,000 above the budget that I set, which meant that we had that money. And then when we spoke at the end of the year, we're like, we want to use this money. So we decided to build a school, which costs about £30,000. Second year, it was the same thing. So now we supported the school, supported the initiative. So now, sort of fast forwarding 4 years, we support about 1,600 families through the year, every month with rations.
Yeah.
We've built 3 schools. We were about to build our 4th one, but then there was a cyclone there last year. And we said, instead of just building for the sake of building, we'd rather use the funds to actually reconstruct some of the schools that have been damaged.
Yeah.
And, support some of the families a little more. So we've actually used the same funds to build a 4th school. But from now on, my intention is we have enough funds to build a school, but we could deploy them to other things. And it's become a huge part of what our culture at Hoppers is. So we're not just raising the pound on the bill. There's a pound on every single special that's sold that goes to it. 5 pounds of any cookbook sold goes to it. Anytime I ever do an event, my first and often only rider is that there needs to be some charitable element that goes to my charity. So we won't take a fee, we won't share profits, we'll do it on your premises or whatever, but as long as you have a percentage of the profits. And that's more for, again, just awareness. Because it's not so much about making 2-3 quid off 20 dishes sold, but it's about more people hearing about it. And it's not about us doing a charity. I just want people to know that, look, there is this ability to give money back to Sri Lanka. The number of friends I have who visited, come back and said, we love the country, but we just don't know how to give back. Or Sri Lankans who are here who are like, we just don't know how to give, which organizations are honest. And
of course.
But, and that's where the platform is very important, where we are trusted for our food, for our sort of representation of culture. And I think in that, we also want to talk about this charity that we have kind of partnered with. We have we've put a lot of effort into. It's fully transparent. We have Ernst & Young does the auditing for us every year. I know where every penny has gone. And I think the beauty, the way we plugged into it, it's not a single penny is lost in admin. I don't pay a single admin fee. I just plug into the system. I just
maximize.
He pays for all the salaries, all the transport. I just maximize.
Amazing.
So it's been, I think if you ask me my 10 years, it has been the one achievement I'm most proud of, more than the books, more than the restaurants and anything else. And I think, the team knows this as well. And the test of it is when I come back from Sri Lanka and I've posted all these fun pictures of beaches and restaurants and hotels. Often the first question a lot of my core team asks me is like, how the kids do. We want to go there to meet some of these kids. So that's always a stop on our sort of Sri Lankan tours now.
Well, next time you go, then I will be coming along too. Karan, I want to know, Three things from you that you consistently and consciously focus on now, because Hoppers, has grown quite exponentially. But I want to know three things that you do to ensure that the business still feels personal and values led.
Yeah, I think, you hit the nail on the head. I think to begin with, you need to identify your values. And interestingly, it's only something we've done 8 years out. It was only the last 2 years that I really spent that time. I was like, there was an opportunity to open a restaurant in 2022, actually not far from here. We designed the whole thing up, but I just found I didn't have that exciting new story to tell. And there was something missing. I was like, okay, it's easy to design a space. I know what Hopper should look like. The menus, at that point didn't change too much from side to side.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we've made this radical change here with 7, 8 new dishes. But it would have been quite easy to do, but it just didn't feel like there was something more to tell.
Yeah.
And I think at that point, I went back to the drawing board and I said, what was the reason why? And I think part of it was the team was just not in the right place. We'd had post-COVID, King's Cross had never taken off the way I wanted to take off. We had some key movements in place. I think the management wasn't close to where I wanted to be. We weren't really bouncing off on, vibing on the energy and culture.
Yeah.
So I spent that time then just re-holding the whole thing. New ops, head of ops come in. I mean, he came in as ops manager. He's moved to head of ops, Haitham, who has really turned the business around.
Yeah.
He's, like me, we've uplifted a lot of people from lower levels up to higher levels.
Yeah.
They have really proven themselves. And I think today the culture we have is so much stronger, which then quickly translates into profits because now everyone treats the business as their own.
Yeah.
They know that, any future growth is going to benefit them because they've seen themselves go up the ranks, and they realize that, okay, there's a bit of a glass ceiling. So, people have asked me, it's like, what is your sort of plan on growth?
Yeah.
What are your ambitions? And I think for me, it's very much the analogy of a family car. So it's when you have one kid, you can do with a small car. You have 2 kids, you can still do with a sort of mid-range car.
Yeah.
It's only when you start having 3, 4, 5 kids that you need to get that family car.
Yeah.
And I think for me, growth is all about that.
Yeah.
Like my biggest driver for growth today is not about how many more pins can I put in a London map.
Yeah.
But it's about, I've got X, Y, Z in my team who really need to grow.
Yeah.
How do I place them before I lose them?
Yeah.
And how do I sort of push them? And I think for me, the new site here was a way to push people up, was a way to grow a lot of my guys.
Yeah.
And we made a couple of big promotions off the back of this site, and I'd like to see that happen in future as we grow. So biggest lesson was obviously defining and understanding your purpose, which I got my core team in. Again, once I had the right core team that I could really bounce ideas off, we sat in the room for 2 days and I led a session where I just dumped a lot of ideas on them and I just found them bouncing back. And we actually codified a lot of our values and our purpose.
Amazing.
That was, it was incredible. It was one of the most eye-opening things.
Yeah.
It teaches you how to say no. It teaches you how to hire right. It teaches you what growth decisions are right. And it really becomes your North Star.
Yeah.
So finding your purpose, defining your purpose, it's much harder than you think. You need to actually, you can't do it on day zero. You need to have lived it for a long time. You need to have had enough experiences to know how you reacted on the ground. It's a bit like, doing an MBA straight out of college or university, or doing it 10 years on after having experience in the field. And this was exactly that. So purpose, I'd say, so creating, and then secondly, sort of culture. It's all about culture. Again, food and consistency and all that kind of stuff is secondary.
Yeah.
If you have the right culture, you have people in place to become your checks and balances. You have yourself represented through various tiers of your organization.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just you running from place to place, trying to keep standards.
Yeah.
So if your culture is right, I think your standards will remain right. You can screw up, you can serve people a bad meal, but as long as it's done with the right intention, it's done with hospitality, it's done with care, you recover from it quickly.
Yeah.
That's what is going to drive you in a larger organization. And then the last bit is consistency. It's far more important than anything else. You need to build for consistency. You need to re-engineer for consistency. So what worked in a one-site Soho might not work in 4 sites. And you've got to really appreciate that, understand it, and say, okay, how do I solve for it? So that's more your technical side, but sort of, I'd say purpose, culture, consistency are now the 3 pillars that we stand on. At least I stand on. Yeah.
I mean, we we should probably have a part 2 to this podcast.
Done. This afternoon.
But before I ask you the final question, I want you to talk me through, we're in Shoreditch, but I need the dishes that people can't miss. So before we started filming, I was saying that the dream reservation size is like a 4 to a 6, because then you can order more things and share, because there's nothing worse than coming as a 2 and then you are restricted because you just can't eat as much. So what are the hit list dishes that you feel shouldn't be missed?
At Shoreditch, like I said, we've got 6-7 new dishes on the menu. I think you should try all of them.
Yeah.
Because again, if depends on where you live. If you're coming all the way out of Shoreditch, try all of them. Then come as a 6.
Yeah.
They are bigger dishes.
Yeah.
So they're meant for sharing. So, if you came as a 2, you'd probably get through 3 of them.
Yeah.
Comfortably.
Because I have been dreaming about this crab omelette as well on repeat since.
That's been a fun dish. It was a really fun dish to develop, and I think the story behind it also makes it so special for me.
Yeah.
But so we've got this crab omelette, which is basically a day in Madurai.
Yeah.
Which for me is a street food capital of at least South India, if not all of India. You have these incredible paratha makers, this really dexterous stretching rotis to lengths you'd never imagine, stripping them up and cooking them in all forms possible. You have these roadside messes where they just give you flavorful everything from offal to great seafood.
Okay.
And we had this crab curry in the morning on a banana leaf as part of a big feast. There were ladies deep frying omelets in these weird round, this container almost like a giant takoyaki thing with like little circular things, tons of oil, just deep fried omelets, masala omelets.
Wow.
Which had nothing to do with the crab, but we just happened to see them together and try them together. And then in the evening, we went and ate rotis. And I said, suddenly, it reminded me of a dish I'd eaten in Goa, which is this Ross omelette, which is like a curried omelette. And also reminded me of kotha roti, which I've eaten in Sri Lanka. And I said, let's bring that together. And it's the only dish at all of our hoppers where you'll find a little bit of tableside drama. We're not that theatre restaurant.
Yeah.
We don't have enough people. We don't have enough time to do that.
Yeah.
We serve it to you in a nice form and we let you eat it when you're ready to eat it.
Yeah.
But this is the only dish where the server will come and pour a little sauce over. Because I think there is a practical value to that.
Yes.
If I poured it and sent it over, if it sat for even 2 minutes longer, it'll get too mushy. But more importantly, it gives you the opportunity to tell this story and to actually identify the different bits and tell someone how to eat it, which wouldn't have happened if I didn't force the server to pour it, because now they're consciously thinking. Otherwise, they'll just drop it. Even if they've been told to tell you the story, they might forget when it's busy. So that was a practical element to it. We've got a bene dosa from Bangalore, which is this new wave of, I would say it's a very old dosa, but it's just becoming very popular in India.
Okay.
And again, to show people that a dosa is not just a dosa, there's much more to it. So we've reached this stage in our lives where, in our lives as hoppers, where we were showing you what a dosa is. Today, we're going to nuance this and we're showing you that, look, there's a dosa from India, there's a dosa from Sri Lanka, there's a dosa from Bangalore that's different from Tamil Nadu. So our normal crispy dosas are more the Tamil style. The Sri Lankan style is completely different. And then you've got this bene dosa, which is different. But again, we wanted to make it a little cooler, make it a little different. And we've got this lovely pulled lamb and pickles inside. You've tried that.
Yeah. It's so good.
So that was a really fun visual dish. Again, I've done versions of that at festivals, so it was an easy sort of idea that came by. We've got these paniyarams, which are little balls of dosa and idli batter that are cooked on a skillet, a bit like a takoyaki again, like the Japanese takoyaki with a prawn in the middle, which is not traditional, but we just wanted to add a little bit more oomph to the dish. We serve it with a really rich curry to dip into instead of a chutney.
It's making me so hungry.
I mean, it'll be 5 minutes and then we'll fire up so you can try all of it.
Interview, actually. I think I did try that when I was here.
But we've got the biryani. I don't think you had the biryani.
I don't think I had the biryani.
So that's the beef biryani with a full short rib. And that's short rice. Now, again, the point there was, we wanted to show a biryani is not just a biryani.
Yeah.
So we've always done a Sri Lankan version, but this is more Dindigul version, which is next to Chettinad in Chennai. And I want to show you that, it can be short grain rice, look very differently, cook very differently. And that India has this incredible depth and diversity of even the same dish. So we've kind of gone to it's 2.0 in a sense of that whole cultural sort of storytelling.
It's just, So every time I hang out with you, I get hungry and excitable. I want to book a flight to go on a trip.
Together, hopefully. Yeah.
Obviously. And it's always just amazing because I'm just constantly feeling like I'm learning from you. So my last question to you, Karan, is what does serve with purpose mean to you?
I think it's exactly what I said earlier. I think I've answered that question on the last one. It's like for me, purpose has become the biggest part of what we do. And I think everything is driven by purpose. Whether I get an opportunity, a question goes back to purpose, not is it exciting or not, is that opportunity exciting or not. It's about why do we do something the way we do it at our restaurants? What is the purpose behind it, and does that sort of link to our ultimate purpose as a restaurant? What are we trying to achieve? And often that's much, much deeper than just serving good food to people or getting covers up or increasing average spend. Because there's a deeper purpose. And if you align with that, everything else kind of falls into place, as long as you do it sort of in a smart way. So I think for me, purpose has become a huge part of what all of us do. We talk about it a lot more. And I think if I was to define the purpose of Hoppers, it's sort of creating a culture of kindness, sort of working and doing things that are kind to our own people and to the people around us, and inspiration, inspiring people just to go off and cook, go to Sri Lanka, go to India, or just, sort of transporting them away from the day-to-day and inspiring them to do something different.
Amazing. Yeah. I mean, it has been an absolute joy. Karan Gokani, thank you for joining me on Serve with Purpose.
Thank you.
Thank you.